Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this September 17th version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. And all of our stuff, you can find all of the locations of our stuff at EOA.network. That takes you to a link tree where you find all of the different locations where you can view our stuff. And then also there's a place, if you want to support us, there's a way of you donating to our cause. So here in just a little bit, we're going to have La Grande Superintendent George Mendoza with us. How are you, man?
Good.
Good?
Good. Second Monday. I'm tired.
I'm kind of dragging this morning, too. Yeah. I didn't sleep very well last night.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
Me neither.
So
it's just crummy weather.
Is that it?
Probably.
Well, for me, it's like part of it was like it wasn't the right temperature, So I have to have it cold, but last night it was a little too cold. I mean, I don't know. It's just
I turned everything off the other day, so
yeah.
It's just air.
Yeah.
I like it with the windows open better than AC if possible, but
yeah,
I'm not gonna like sit there and sweat.
Yeah.
Well, not bad though. Not bad.
Yeah.
Did you see? So when you get charged like this guy who had the gun, at the golf course with Trump, all they can charge him with is gun charges. Do you know that?
Well, I guess
he's facing 2 charges.
Well, I know that with an active president, any threat is a federal offense. Yeah. Now, I don't know if that continues.
He's not an active president.
Right, I know, but I'm sure there are some stipulations.
No, the guy's charged with 2 things.
Okay.
Felon in possession of a firearm and having a firearm with an obliterated serial number.
Yeah. A
ghost gun or whatever you want to call it.
Well, I don't know. You know how that, Gary said sometimes, they'll have an initial charge while they're figuring out what else to charge.
What else could they charge him with?
Like I said, there certainly could be some federal charges that are associated with trying to assassinate an ex-president.
Well, don't you have to make an attempt in order for that? He didn't shoot anything.
With a president, all you have to do is just make a threat. You don't have to.
Well,
I'm saying that there are probably some laws that spread to past presidents. So I have no idea.
I don't think there is anything else they can charge this guy with.
We'll find out.
That's probably why they're stacking on the. You know what I mean? Like, what else could they do? It would be like if obviously a little bit different, but if I was at a golf course with a gun.
Yeah.
Not shoot anybody. Like
I don't know. You're the weird. Google king, man.
I was reading about it this morning because I was interested to see what the guy's going to get charged with, but all I could see was those 2 charges, and I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, what else could they really charge him with? You can't charge somebody with attempting to assassinate somebody if you didn't attempt.
Well, a president will have Secret Service detail for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I would imagine
and they failed again. They didn't check the golf course before he started.
So I would imagine that along with that comes some laws.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that,
I don't know.
But who knows?
That's 2 times in what, 6 months?
Yeah.
If I was Trump, I'd be. I don't know, man. I'll be nervous. That's why I would never want to be in their shoes.
No.
No, I don't want anybody pointing guns at me. No. Just because I was the president.
Yeah.
Nah, I'll pass.
Yeah.
Not for me.
Yeah, it's a little bit, what's interesting is that we haven't, I'm sure that Secret Service has security incidences all the time, but
yeah, we don't hear about.
We haven't had any active assassination attempts in years, and then this. So, but
wasn't there something with Obama? They didn't shoot at him, but somebody had a gun at one of the things that he was at. They just don't. They try not to put that stuff in the news. They hide a lot of things, I think.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I don't recall anything as significant as what's happened recently.
Yeah, I know. That's why if I was Trump, I'd be getting myself a bulletproof Hummer. I'm sure he does ride around in a bulletproof vehicle still. But man. Well, like any of them, right? I mean, it's just we're in a really crazy time where people.
Well, the guy had been there since like in the middle of the night, so he had camped out early in the morning.
And the Secret Service did not secure the
Didn't
golf
search
course. They
they
admitted. I mean, it's come out.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they did a better job than last time.
Yeah.
Because the guy didn't get any shots off. They said that like somebody saw a barrel sticking through a fence.
Yeah.
And one of the Secret Service agents saw a barrel sticking through a fence. It's like
crazy.
Yeah, it's.
Hey, but for us, good to see you, man. Yeah.
I'm not. Oh yeah, bud.
Yeah.
Good morning.
So.
Good morning. Good morning.
Well, hey, you want to do sports?
Let's do it.
All right.
AM Sports Report brought to you by Hobby Habit right here in LeGrand. Epic fantasy adventures await kids aged 5 and up with one of 12 collectible figures from Lego minifigures Dungeons and Dragons, which are toy mystery boxes that can be found at Hobby Habit in LeGrand, 411 First Street, just for the fun of it. EOU football dropped a tough one in Spokane, 31-19 to Whitworth on Saturday. The Mounties had a really good second half. They didn't give up any points after giving up 31 in the first half. Malachi Spurrier continued his hot streak for the Mounties with 11 catches for 121 yards and a touchdown. LHS alum Brody McMillan ran for 13 times for 42 yards and a touchdown, while senior quarterback Quincy Glasper went 28 of 48 for 283 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He also ran for 93 yards on 15 carries, leading all Mounties. EOU football has their home opener this Saturday at 1 p.m. against Montana Tech at Community Stadium. The Mounties are currently 0-2 and looking to get in the win column on Saturday, so get out there and support this team. I still think they have a chance to do okay in the Frontier Conference. Frontier Conference is tough, man. There's 3 teams in the top 25. 2 teams in the top 10. It's gonna be a tough haul for the Mounties, but I'm pushing for them. EOU men's soccer beat La Sierra on Saturday in Riverside, California, 3-1. Daniel Kropp, Angel Sandoval, and Milton Hernandez scored goals for the Mounties. They host Evergreen State at Community Stadium on Friday the 20th at 6:30 p.m. Then they turn around on Saturday and host Northwest at 7 p.m. EOU women's soccer dropped a tough one in Caldwell on Friday versus University of California Merced, 3-0. They also play Evergreen State at Community Stadium on Friday, with that game kicking off at 4, and then they turn around and play Northwest on Saturday as well, with that game at 4:30. EOU cross country goes to Portland this Friday for the CCC preview. Big expectations for both these cross country teams this year. The men look to defend their CCC championship from last year, and they're ranked top 10 nationally. And I look for them to have a really good year this year. LHS volleyball beat Newport in the Sisters tournament on Saturday. They host Stanfield today up at the high school at 5:30 p.m. The boys soccer team at LHS beat Umatilla 3-2 on Friday, and then they'll go to Ontario not until the 24th, though. That's their next game for a 4 p.m. kickoff, while the girls team revenged their only loss of the year. Fruitland beat LeGrand at Community Stadium on the 4th of this month, and then on Saturday the Tigers went to Fruitland and revenged the loss 3-1. They're 3-1-1 on the season, and they host the Dowels today, 4 o'clock Community Stadium. LHS football went on the road and lost to the Cheesemakers of Tillamook 27-14. Holly Warner from Tillamook sent me some pictures that she took of the game. They're awesome. I posted them all on our social media if you want to check them out. The Tigers have a bye this week, which is probably a good thing. They'll be able to rest up, recover, and prepare themselves for Nissa on the 27th. In the GOL, Baker beat Marshfield 41-20. Ontario lost to Vale 62-10. Crook County beat Ashland 30-27, and Pendleton beat Redmond 35-34. And something crazy happened in that Pendleton game. Redmond has the ball with a minute 37 left, and I remember it clearly on the clock. 3rd and 6. Redmond's driving, okay? And the only reason why this is significant is because Redmond ended up kicking a field goal, and if that goes in, they win. Well, 1:37 left on the clock, 3rd and 6. Redmond runs a play. Nobody starts the clock. Nobody notices. So for that 3rd down play, no time came off the clock. Redmond got the 1st down, and so the 1st down play, there's still 1:37 left on the clock, and nobody noticed. I messaged my referee buddy, a local referee, Todd Gorham, and I was like, hey, give me a call. I want to talk to you about this. And he said, you know, like the referee, the white hat should have caught that. And that could have been detrimental to Pendleton. It's their home scorekeeper. And if Redmond hits that field goal with time expiring, that field goal should have never happened, because at least 10 seconds would have ran off the clock for that play on 3rd down. It was crazy. Anyways, Pendleton hosts Weezer on Friday, and that'll be live streamed. It's at 7 p.m. It'll be live streamed right here on the EOA network. Football scores from around the valley. Elgin loses to Lyle 52-28. Cove lost to Crane 72-12. Union beat Sherman 48-6. Imbler lost to Crane. I must have that wrong. I don't think they both played Crane. Anyways, Imbler lost 58-20, and Powder Valley beat Riverside 8-6. That's a crazy score for an 8-man football game. 8-man football is usually really high scoring, you know, because there's, you know, a lot of field for not a lot of players. And the final score was 8-6, which means either, I mean, it could have been like 2 field goals and a safety, but I'm assuming that it was probably Riverside scored a touchdown and didn't convert the extra point, and Powder Valley scored a touchdown and ran it in for 2. And so the final score there, 8-6. This Saturday, September 21st, all day long at the local is the Cades Courage fundraiser. If you have the means, get out there and support the McKinley family. All you can eat breakfast, bacon and pancakes at 8 a.m. All you can eat tri-tip starts at noon. There's a cornhole tournament at 5, a beer wagon from noon on. And then concerts are an Eye for an Eye at 5 p.m., the Jeff Carmen Band at 6:30 p.m., and then Caleb Lathrop is the headliner, and he's coming from Nashville, and that's at 8 p.m. The silent auction and raffle is all day long, and there's all kinds of stuff. So get there and check it out. You can get your tickets right here. You can scan that QR code that was on the screen. And the cool thing, and I say this every show, is everything is donated, so all the proceeds go to the family, which is awesome. AM Sports Report brought to you by Hobby Habit. Go check them out, 411 First Street in LeGrand, just for the fun of it.
All right. And that Lathrop kid, he's the one that's from Elgin or Embler?
Yeah, he's from Elgin, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's, and you were playing some of his stuff yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not bad.
No.
I mean, it's not really my niche of music, but he's good.
Yeah.
He's good.
No, it was.
He'll put on a good show, and he's local, and you know what I mean. That'll bring people in, even more people in to support the family. I think VIP tickets, like there's a VIP meet and greet, and all that money's getting donated too. And I think the meet and greet tickets are like $100, and
right.
You get to meet him, you get something signed, I think, and and then like everything's affordable. I don't remember the prices. Like I said, you can scan that QR code that was on the screen, and it'll take you directly to the Ticket Leap site where you can buy all the different things. You can buy breakfast, lunch, beer tokens, and then VIP access to the concert.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
All righty, great. Well, let's take a look outside. Or I guess we don't. Our weather cam is down right now, but let's take a look at the weather graphic. So high today is 66. You wore pants.
First day of the year, first time. It's depressing.
Yeah, and then looks like the whole rest of the week it's in the 70s without much chance of rain, which is good. So
high 70s on Thursday.
Yeah.
Like gonna almost get to 80.
Yeah. Well,
I'm okay with that.
And that's good. So yeah, that, and talking about that game, that was, I mean, that was a super close game. Had it not been close, the one that they didn't start the clock on, you know, had it not been close, it wouldn't have been matter. It wouldn't have mattered.
No.
But
No.
came right down to a field goal. You know, LeGrand lost. I think it was to Gladstone a few years ago with a field goal. I mean, it was one of the playoffs game, and they lost in the last.
That was 2018, I think.
Yeah.
2018.
So
the year before.
The year before the championship. Yeah. It was that was a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
Hard way to lose a game. But so anyhow, well, so glad you're here with us this morning. LeGrand School District George Mendoza will be with us right after this. Welcome to Creating Memories for Disabled Children at beautiful Wallowa Lake, Oregon. Over the years, we have offered families of children with disabilities a free vacation at our beautiful camp properties. These getaways are a respite for families who often deal with an increased amount of emotional stress, financial hardships, and isolation. At Creating Memories, these families are able to relax in the knowledge that their child is loved and that their efforts are seen. Since 2018, we have completed a cabin renovation every 2 years, continually increasing our capacity to serve. We have fully renovated 3 cabins to become fully accessible lodging for families, including full kitchens and wheelchair-accessible bathrooms. We now turn our focus to the lodge building at the Creating Memories camp. Our vision for the lodge includes gatherings, networking, education, connections, community, and fellowship. We want it to be a place for families to share their struggles and joys, their needs and their knowledge, their setbacks and their celebrations. We are creating memories for disabled children, and our mission is to do just that. You're not centered, scoot one way or the other.
Okay, you'll tell me. Oh.
All right, we're back with George Mendoza, LeGrand School Superintendent. How are you, man?
Always okay. Good to see you, Brent. Good to see you, Dodgy.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. How are things?
Things are well. I'm always back to like it's a great day to be alive. You know, it's
Yeah.
and
There's a song
things are
about
always
that.
yeah no
Great.
I think about that song often, like it's a great day to be alive. But it's just moving forward, opportunity to deal with things and then to move things forward is usually where my mind's at.
Yeah, well, good. The Wildcat Center is getting ready to, I mean, you're like right on the tipping point, right? It was the 25th? I'm trying to remember when. Yeah.
Usually I tell people, I've been saying like we're 97% done, now we're 98% done, we're 99% done. We are about at the 100% now. So we're pretty close. And yes, September 25th, 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock is our big grand opening.
Yeah.
And my hope is that all of LeGrand or in all of our community region can come in and check it out.
Yeah.
And it's ready. It's 6 classrooms, 3 gyms. I'll just say it's a state-of-the-art facility that I sometimes, there's not another facility like that. There is one in Tri-Cities that's close to it, but ours is little bit nicer and newer. So
How many square feet is that building? Yeah,
it's
I might have asked you before that.
Yeah, you have, I think, but I'd have to quantify it. It's going to be over 40,000 square feet. I think I was told was just the 3 gyms. So then when you put in the other classrooms, it'll be in the 50 to 60,000 square feet.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's huge.
Yeah, well, yeah, more than an acre.
And it's
44,000 square feet makes an acre.
Yeah,
so,
it's a lot. The gyms have these drop down. Everything is drop down, so it has drop down curtains too to divide the gyms.
Yeah.
It has drop downs for the softball, baseball nets. It has the courts, so the 3 courts. It has 9 pickleball courts. It has 3 scoreboards that are nice and new. It's just a very pretty facility. It's got they're called big ass fans. It's got 3 big ass fans. That just
that is the brand name, right? Yeah,
it's the brand name.
It's funny. Yeah,
it's got really good air conditioning so far. So it's I'll just say it's got a lot of bathrooms, a lot of bathroom stalls. A lot of nice classrooms too.
So pickleball. So does that mean it's going to be open for the public?
Yeah,
some, or have you guys figured that out yet?
I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah.
I do definitely want to allow for it, but based off of groups. So like if you were an AAU club, there's one club that would have to check it out, and then there's people responsible.
Yeah.
So if we did something with pickleball, it'd have to be pretty early in the mornings.
Yeah.
And it would also have to be that there's a pickleball organization or group that we
responsible
allow for that, and then they have to maintain, and take care of things. And if they don't, then there's a chance I'd probably say we're not going to do that. But I'm still in that stage of trying to make sure first we're using it right and we're operating it correctly, and then we can get to other groups and so on.
So do you have our kids in there yet?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's being used right now.
They are now. We started the school year with them in the classrooms.
Oh, awesome.
And then as of last week, they were now doing PE in the gym in the sport court that we have, which is we're not a wooden floor. We're definitely a multi-use sport court, but it's a very nice polyurethane flooring that's like a 1-pour that they do over a bunch of different cushions.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt as bad when you fall on it.
It's very nice.
Tell you that.
Yeah,
I know for a fact.
If you guys want to check it out, like if you want to walk on it, it's really cool.
It's just not as sticky as the coating that they put on wood. Mm-hmm. Like when you dive on that sport court, it's much easier on your body. You don't get the court burns.
It has. This one is called the Comfort 110 or Plastic Comfort 110. It's one of the top end. I use the word sometimes bronze, silver, gold. It's more like the gold standard of polyurethane. And it does have this absorption, and they talk about these things where you land. There's a radius of
a little easier
how
on
it just
your
kind
knees.
of absorbs stuff. It's just, but it's firm yet soft. I'll just say.
So did you know about building athletic facilities like this before you jumped into this project? I mean, has your knowledge like?
Oh, I always grow and learn, but I knew, from Tri-Cities, the Southridge Sports Complex had a 3-gym, 2-level complex that people would check out quite a bit. And in my mind's eye, I had been thinking about us having classrooms and athletic complex, multi-use for sports and activities, but also if we wanted to have galas or different events for the community. And that was what Southridge Complex had or has. So I had an idea, or definitely had a vision, but the building of it, is you learn as you go.
Right.
And but I knew that what kind of flooring I was looking for, or what kind of thoughts on the curtains and thoughts on the gym and how to make dividers and all these types of things that we wanted. There was several examples that I was very aware of, and when we started to have all these initial discussions that I could present to Mike Becker and Jared, I'd give them a lot of pictures of what I was looking for, and so there is definitely vision.
Right. And so did you I mean, like you talked about the flooring and the impact. And
Yeah.
Did you know all that beforehand, or is that something you've gained?
Well, no, you go to,
in
you
this
know,
process?
of course you go to Southridge Complex and you go and check out their floor, and then you interview the,
Right.
the guy in charge, the general manager, and then you talk about their construction. So you go and you research,
Yeah.
and then they talk about what they like or what they don't like about the flooring, and then they actually told me, you don't want our flooring. Ours is very multi-use, and if you're really going to be more of a multi-use, it's not as good for sports. You know, we do have sports, but people complain about the sports over here. So you want a better version. So then you start going into like, well, should we get wood, or should we use? Are we still thinking multi-use? You know, athletic and academic plus gala and events. And then the committee's like, well, we want multi-use, and you know, we said all these things. So find us a multi-use. So then I go and, you know, call Portland and find Portland companies and find locations that have polyurethane courts and how they work. So then I go to Portland Community College and check out their polyurethane floor, and then we meet with their rep, and then Jared puts us all together, and then we figure out what makes sense, and then we work with our bond oversight committee and make a decision, and those are all like methodical things that you have to do. Yeah.
So it's coincidental, interesting, impactful that Grand Ronde Hospital and you guys are, I mean, 2 days apart. Yours is the Wildcat Center grand opening is on the 27th, and that's on the, 25th.
Mine's 25th.
Yeah. And the other one's on the 27th. Yeah, you know.
I love that they're both done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the construction companies, trades in the area, they've been going, man, what are we going to do this winter? You know, because that's, I mean, between those two projects, there's been a lot of impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. And hopefully, I'll just say we still have 3 75-year-old plus buildings in our school district.
And 100-year plus.
Oh, Willow,
right? Yeah.
And Willow is 100 plus.
That's
and then
right,
Wood Ag Shop is around 50, 60 years old too. And
At the high school?
Yeah.
Is it?
It's old.
Huh.
That Wood Ag Shop. But I actually, I'd love to see us get another awesome grant. And then over time, potentially, in the next 2 years, see if we can get that awesome grant, see how much money it would take to make that into another new Wood Ag Shop.
Yeah.
Make it look a little bit more like the CTE building that we have right now, or even maybe a shell. Who knows? But I really want to keep improving our facilities. We need to keep improving our facilities. We need to modernize our facilities.
So, I mean, 20 years ago, there was kind of a decline in wood shop trades. I don't know, what do they call it? CTE? What do you call that?
Yeah, career technical education.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, and we saw the decline of that and the results of that, over a period of time. And now, I mean, kind of looking, were you in education at that? I mean, why did that happen? I mean, I know that it happened because of money.
I think, there's a pendulum of how things swing. And at the time, a lot of people were getting into, it's good to have a college career, it's good to have a college pathway, it's good for us to go to college. And then, those types of industries were promoted as, and it still is, like, if you think of money, or you think of like a college degree gives you so much $1 million worth of income over a 30-year period and blah, blah, blah. They still say, like, if you get a college degree, you still have, on average, more earned money over time. Yeah. But now the trades have gotten to the point where there weren't so many people going to trades.
Right.
And then it became, you got to do a lot for vocation, you got to do a lot for industry, you got to do a lot for job skills and soft skills. And we got to make these, this important part of what is an education, because it has a lot of project-based, hands-on experiences for kids that they enjoy. So then you start innovating and doing more with CTE programs, and then the pendulum is swinging now, where there is a lot of industry that's partnering and collaborating and wanting things to happen too, and then you shift in that direction, and now you have more kids taking CTE classes, and then you have these indicators that, if they get a CTE pathway certificate, it's anywhere from 97% to 100% graduation rates, and then they have job skills and soft skills to be able to go into industry, and then now they pay $50, $40, $35 an hour for a variety of industries, and kids look at that as, like, that's my path. So then you're now losing kids going to college because it's become more expensive, and at some level harder to get into, and it just does this thing. And so we're in this shift now where CTE is very strong, and if anything, now I'm actually telling people we also need to get kids to think about college and that 4-year experience.
The other thing is too, and I'll speak on this from experience. Back when I was in high school, so 25 years ago, nobody looked at wood shop and metal shop as like a career training. You looked at it as a place where you could go take a dip and hang out and not have to read books and make something cool to give to your mom. I mean, I hate to say that, but really, that's how it was.
It's
so true.
Yeah, and we still have we have wood where you can make benches, or you can make
or a
chairs.
Little box for your mom.
You can make a dog house.
Board tables.
Yeah, you can make little things, and then we have construction 1 and construction 2 and Tiger Home.
Yeah, we didn't have none of that.
And so, but see, they build stuff where we go from even fabrication and creation into now making finished products that are sustainable for our future kind of deal. And so, and people actually tell you, we don't have electricians, or we don't have carpenters, or we don't have plumbers, we don't have. And so you start doing these things to create that market so that that niche gets filled.
Yeah.
Which I love, right? I'm really happy about, and that's what we offer now with Tiger Homes.
Right. But the but is, and Dr. Kelly Ryan was here just a couple weeks ago, and we talked about how that has impacted, that potentially a few years from now we're going to be missing doctors and educators and there's not as many people going towards those fields, and that the pendulum swings, and that causes a different shortage.
Yeah, it does. There's always a cause and effect. And I use words like the first order, and then there's a second order and a third order when we make decisions. And we got to always understand that the ramifications of our choices, and it creates impact.
So one of the questions that I ask her, and this is more of a philosophical question, in that I think that my assessment is that there have been, maybe in the last 10 years, there's been college graduates who have graduated from college with a degree, but had really no practical application for that degree in some manner or not. So, and so then in the meantime, you have people that graduate and they invested a couple $100,000 in an education, and they have nothing to repay that with. I mean, all of this is just spitballing. In the meantime, you have trades that have a shortage, and a qualified trade can be making $150,000 a year pretty easily, and so then in education, I guess the question is, how do you, and we talked a lot about history, because Dr. Ryan, that is her area of so how do you balance those two? How do you have an academic type degree that has something practical to do with that degree? What is your take on that?
Well, I just think that, purpose, getting kids to have experiences, getting people to see what they enjoy, what they like in life, and then helping them understand, like, this career, this vocation does these types of things, and it gives you these kinds of opportunities, and it has this trajectory of growth, and then this does that one. So you have to almost have these, just like we tell our kids when we're, as parents, like, go try basketball and see how you like it, and then go try soccer and see how you like it, and go do running and see how you like it, and pretty soon you find out that they're really good at running, or they're really good at throwing or catching things, and then they like football. You have to sometimes give these experiences, whether it's in middle school or in high school, where you expose them to career and career pathways, but also think of like purpose, passion, and alignment to who you are. And this might be a good career or vocation or class for you. This might be that. So we got to do those things. Right. And then we got to give them those kind of that, sometimes I use, again, bronze, silver, gold, those job shadow opportunities to see, like, what is it like to be Kyle? What is it like to be Dodzy, to do a bunch of journalistic type stuff and to create videos and to interview people? And they might be like, I really like that. Just like kind of you gave whatever you gave to Benny. And Ben decided that he really likes this kind of life. And we have to do those kinds of things often to our kids so that they stick it out too in school at times. And so our schools have become really good at trying to talk about careers and pathways and bringing in people and then doing job shadows and then doing internships and then also having these work-study programs, and that becomes part of what we do in our CTE programs. So that does make, that does create that kind of like, this is my purpose or this is my passion and I want this career.
Right.
And we're not doing that as well as we used to at college, but now our school district has gotten better at between Kelly and I, we decided, Kelly Ryan and I, we want a classroom at LeGrand High School where we can have a college recruiter, Kathy Brown, to talk about the programs that EOU has and then meet some of the professors and get to know some of the services and the career pathways and the college degrees that EOU has. So now it's in a prominent hallway where kids can come in, and Kathy's there, I believe, two days out of the week, and then we have Blue Mountain Community College also there, where they learn about a 4-year university and they learn about a 2-year college experience too, and they can look at the classes and courses and opportunities, and then they meet and greet the professors, and then again it creates an interest for students to say, I think I'm ready to go to college, and it does these things for me. Another thing that we do is now with EOU we've partnered to have a direct admission process where we submit with a release of information from the student their transcript their senior year, and then the university will say, you have a 2.5 GPA, you're directly admitted into EOU. You don't have to complete any application, and we'll help you with your FAFSA, your financial aid application. And it removes kind of a barrier and makes a pathway for students to start thinking, I can go to college.
Right.
It's easy for me to go to college. And then if you have a 3.0 GPA, this is what scholarships or free remissions you've qualified for. If you have a 3.5 GPA, this is what scholarships you have offered to you now. So then again, it creates that path that and just people can now believe that they belong.
Yeah.
So those are things that we have to do now, or we're doing now, to kind of I'll just say combat the too much CTE into also let's get some kids to really think about a 4-year university. Well,
and I think the thing that I personally have an issue with is, if you're going to be a teacher, then you're going to have teacher's education. I mean, your junior year, there's a certain amount of classroom experience. Your senior year, so there's some hardcore. I mean, by the time you get through a college, and you're certified, you know what you're getting into. Okay, as opposed to social work or, and I'm just picking things. This could be random, but business, for instance. I mean, you could graduate with a master's degree in business and really never have any practical experience, perhaps. So, is there a trend to take some of those spongy degrees and get them some practical application? Do you understand the question I'm asking?
Yeah. No, well, I hope so. But that's probably up to the college or universities on these spongy things that they offer, and then giving them internships or job shadow things within that, so that they can really pick the nuance, I'll just say, niche of that career.
Right.
And then even for us, if we do have an industry, let's say it is one of the things that I think to me is this industry of ecology and rehabbing, and people calling those brownfields, and then wanting to convert something that is, that has a lot of chemicals or has a lot of oil or has a lot of things that needs to be converted into something new. I know that there's these degrees, but I keep thinking, well, how many companies are out there for that kind of job, and then how much money do you have when you're going to really reinvest in that brownfield where you're going to turn it into something new? And it's kind of a future thing where people do, but I kind of am in is this kind of an agricultural pathway or a biology pathway? Is it an ecology pathway? Is it a entrepreneurial pathway where you can make money on this?
Yeah.
And I don't see sometimes the clear alignment, but what I do think is that no matter what the university does, they need to give them the practical experience. They probably need to work with whatever U.S. department that they work with, and then they need to say, you can do this from a I'll just say a technological career pathway where you work for the government, or you can do it here and they get you the business partnership with the person that takes on these things and that they own this business, or you can take it on from the I'll just say the personal, it makes you happy and satisfied to do these kinds of things.
Right.
But my point is, like, I don't always see some of the things that they do, so you're right. Sometimes I just know that people are interested and then people do it. But when you don't tie all of the things together, it becomes, what are we doing?
Well, and I guess I think that, I mean, the parent, you know, it's kind of the parent or the grandparent's job to say, okay, son, grandson, you're spending this money. What do you hope to do to recover this money in 4 or 6 years from now? I mean, you hope they're having those conversations. But if they're not, then it seems like somebody at the university level should be saying, okay, yeah, you borrowed $100,000. You're in your 3rd year of college. I mean, whatever it might be. You know, I mean, those conversations I think have been missing sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it may be. I'm going to say it may be that people do say that, and it may be also that the student says, I really am interested in this topic now, and I want to learn more about it. And then they just say, okay. So, I mean, it all depends.
Yeah. Well, and there's, I mean, people just sometimes have a hunger for knowledge, and there's not anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I totally understand that. I think that influence, though, that thing that I'm talking about, has pushed. I mean, that has elevated the need for CTE. I mean, those are part of the things that have pushed back and forth.
Yeah.
So,
with you in the sense of, like, if we're really good at purpose, passion, job experience or internship experiences, or even career pathway exploration, it does create a little more clarity of what you want, or at least more understanding of the things that you really would like to do based on your talent or your interests. And we've got to keep doing those things.
Well, and you see, I mean, what I see in this work, is you have the people that, like, let's say they want to be a doctor or they want to go into the medical field or whatever the case might be. They might not have, somewhere along the line, they've determined that's really what they want to do, and they might be investing in a lot of education before they finally get to some practical experience. But there's a whole bunch of applications out there that require that you have a BA, and sometimes those BAs, they're not attached to practical experience whatsoever. And so that's kind of where I see that, yeah, that's part of what might be missing 5 years from now, 10 years from now, is those, you know, some of those intermediate professional jobs that require a BA, they require some higher education, and those, there's just not that people to fill those positions. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah.
All right. So what else is going on in the school district?
You know, it's beginning of the school year, so it's always building relationships with kids and staff moving anything forward. They usually assess students to see where they're at academically, and then they kind of plan lessons and units based on some of that, especially at the younger grades. And then it's also like starting to teach. So that's what's going on. It's sports and athletics too, and making sure that we're starting to compete and get ready for those types of high-level competition that's been going on. And then it's always just a new school year. So I think for me, you know, schools are very cyclical. They always have a beginning and a middle and an end, and then it's a repeat, and hopefully you grow each year. And it's people also talking about, what are we trying to do to improve in reading, or what are we trying to do to improve in math, or what are we trying to do to improve attendance rates, or what are we doing in terms of making sure that students are on track and making sure our systems are improving. So a lot of that happens during the beginning of the school year as we start, and then we look at some of our initiatives that we're doing. Yeah.
Good. So let me ask you a specific question, because you shared at Rotary a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things that you talked about was the state stopped requiring a test.
Oh.
And I don't know if that was for high school seniors or high school, and And
Yeah.
talk to me about the impact of that. But the big question is, how do you measure students if you don't have a test?
Yeah.
How do you measure whether they're getting it or not?
It's a great question. I'd say for the first part, we made a mess of state testing and because we lost clarity, and we no longer require a student to test. We used to. And if they didn't test, there's also be work samples that we could collect to show proficiency. In our state,
At what level did you require tests? What, like
third grade on up.
Okay, all right.
And then our state indicated that students could opt out of state testing and not be required to do any work sample as well. So then when students decide to opt out of state testing, then there's no accountability to taking the test. And when you start to have 50, 60, or 70% of your students start to opt out of state testing, it makes that data, at best, it's not good data.
Not relevant,
It's,
really.
it's the students that are sometimes opting to do it aren't always our most prepared students. The ones that are actually there, some of our most proficient or prepared students don't want to take the test if it has no value, or if it's just a week worth of content and time that they're going to miss. They'd rather learn the content and do the work that they need to do versus spending a week taking a test. So we now have systems in place where our high school has around 70% of the students that don't want to take the math or reading test any longer because there is no accountability to it.
Why is there the option?
Because I think our state decided that it was unfair for students at times to take the test. They weren't prepared, and it was showing that they couldn't master certain skills. Kind of like it was a barrier or an obstacle that we put in the way of them graduating. So they wanted to remove that barrier obstacle from them graduating.
When I was a kid, I loved testing days.
Yeah, and
like
so
you got a kudos bar, you got a little juice.
so that happened for state testing. Now back to your other. We know students are learning by grades that we give. You know, we know students are learning by the assignment they turned in and then the outcome of that assignment, whether it's a 90% or 80%. We know students are learning when we call it district level assessments, where we do a beginning of the year test on reading or math, and then a mid-year test where we see their growth again for reading or math, and then an end of the year test so that we have their beginning of the year data, their mid-year data, and their end year data on concepts and skills that they were taught in math and reading. So we have an idea of their growth, and we're able to say good job, or we're able to say you need interventions, or you need more opportunities to learn, etc. We do all of those things too. So we have an idea of how kids are doing just by those measures. But when the state takes a big test and then it becomes you're in or you're out, and then you start to get a lot of people saying you're out, it creates this system that's not accurate.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So
you're not getting good. Yeah. Bud has a question. He wants to know what the graduation rate is at LeGrand High School. If you know it right off the top of your head.
Well,
Or close.
it's about 95, a little higher than 95% this year or last year for 4-year graduates or kids that were graduated on time.
good.
And then the completer rate was around 97%, which is they got a GED or
Something.
they were able to complete with a modified diploma.
That's really good, because when I was in high school, it was nowhere near that.
Yeah, but see, and I'm really proud of our school district, proud of our staff. We do a lot to track grades.
Right.
And we do a lot to track credits. Like if you're below in credits, we're meeting with you. What's your story? What's the situation? What's getting in the way? We're assigning either a 0-period class to like help you to get caught up on your credits, or we're doing a study skills class to help you get caught up on your credits, or we're giving you an 8th-period class so that to help you get caught up with your credits. And then we're having parent meetings. We're having all kinds of things to like, hey, how can I help you, Kyle? We need to. You're at 4 credits. You need 7 right now to be on track. We got to help you. What do you need? And so we're now having these systems where we know your story, know your situation, and then we apply strategy and resource to make sure that you graduate on time.
So this is a little bit more of an old school approach, right? I mean, so there weren't state tests when I was graduating. I mean, it was all based upon, did you pass the class? Do you have enough credits? How are you? Do you know that material in order to? Yeah. So the kids that are graduating. Just because they don't take the test doesn't mean they're escaping from not having to know the stuff.
Well said. Well, and that's kind of why the state kind of went to this, you can opt out, because they did think of it as a barrier, an obstacle for certain groups or certain people to be able to get their diploma. And there were people that weren't passing work samples, or there weren't people that were passing the SBAC. And so then they look at that as an injustice, or they look at that as a barrier that's been created. And so then they say, okay, well, now we can opt out and you don't have to do it. But then what that does again is like it creates these second order, third order things with systems where why are we doing it if it really doesn't matter anymore? And it creates this over time, this erosion or trickle effect where people are saying, I don't want to spend a week of my time taking a reading test that doesn't matter.
Right. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure that state testing in Oregon has no bearing on you personally. It's all about statistical, right? Like it's to give information to the state.
It's that, but it also does. We're just gonna call it like a dipstick, and it sees how kids are doing relative to other school districts or statewide, and then also how are you doing in math, specifically in multiplication.
Right.
But it's not like you're taking a test and if you pass it, you're going to get credit or you're going to graduate. No, it has nothing to do with that. Yeah. It's just for statistical information.
So systems knowledge.
Yeah.
And for people to look at that and say, what are you doing to improve based on this systems knowledge?
Which is why they allowed them to opt out, I'm sure, because it's not like if I think about it, if I'm a high school kid or a parent of a high school kid, and my kid doesn't test well, it stresses them out, right? I'm going to say,
that's what happens.
Don't take the test then, because you know what I mean? It does nothing for you personally. I hate to say that.
And so that's what's been going on. And now our systems knowledge that we would say would be good systems knowledge is no longer good systems knowledge.
Right.
But there's a good way to put it. Correct me if I'm wrong. 20 years ago, though, when Oregon was doing, and my previous wife was a school teacher in this district, and she taught fourth grade, and there was a lot of pressure she felt a lot of pressure to get her kids to perform well on those tests.
It wasn't really a choice back then.
Right, right. So I'm saying, but part of it is that part of in preparing the kids for the tests, you taught to the test. I mean, you would have to prepare the kids in order for the work samples, and so which then question the validity of that process too. And I think that it seems like it used to be that was also connected to how well the teacher was doing. Is that the case then? Was that the case then?
They still do have, I'll just call it accountability, and accountability to seeing growth. And they do use the state test to say, like, a school needs improvement. Their students are historically performing poorly on reading or math.
Okay.
And so they need more resources, or they need more monitoring, and we expect you to implement professional development based on how to improve the impact of what you do in reading or math.
Okay.
So there's still accountability measures that are done to get a school to perform at higher levels, and that still happens with federal funds.
Okay.
And they expect the state to implement those types of initiatives, and it still happens today.
Well, if you have all these kids not taking the test, though, that kind of goes out the window, doesn't it?
It creates, again, bad data.
How do you fix it?
Well, for me, that's where I get into, and I'm an old coach too, so it's like, tell me the rules and let's do the rules. And to me, it's like, let's all take the test, and then there is no opting out. Back to the old.
I think so too.
Or do work samples. Do the test or do work samples. Or if we're going to have no test, then have no test. Collect our grades. We'll submit you our grades. Collect our beginning, middle, and end of the year diagnostic data that we do with our own district assessments. We'll submit that to you. You'll see if we're growing or not growing. Collect our grades in biology if you want. You'll see who's learning in biology or not. Collect our grades in Algebra 1, and you'll see who's learning Algebra 1 or not. Like we can give you the data that you want. We can even do it based on our strategic plan. You say that you want us to show you attendance data, we'll show you attendance. Behavior data, reading and math achievement data, we'll give you all these data points, and then you can decide if we're doing well or not. And then we're just using our current system to give you the information that you want without having to do a state level system that is poorly implemented.
So you're saying one or the other, no optional testing. Like I agree with that.
I do think the opt-out is always going to create these flawed systemic things.
So I guess I was presuming that the state already gets all of that data that you were talking about.
They don't. They might get our who's graduated data, and they will get like they don't get our beginning of the year data, our mid-year data, our end of the year student diagnostic data. They do get a submission of. I don't even think they get credits. They don't necessarily even get all the courses and classes per student.
So they don't. So from that data, they're not really able to gauge whether a student is improving or not. They're able to gauge whether they're passing or failing, essentially. Yeah. Okay.
And so they get our attendance data.
Right. Yeah.
They get our behavior data.
Attendance data has a direct correlation to funding, though. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they get our attendance. They get our behavior. They get how many kids are on track.
Right.
They do get, they get SBAC data, but the SBAC data is pretty flawed.
Right.
So what would you prefer? Mandatory testing or just have the school districts handle it themselves?
I would prefer the school district handle it themselves.
I like that
Number one.
too.
Number one. So if you're already getting our attendance data, we'll give it to you. You get our behavior data, we'll give it to you.
Yeah.
You get our on-track data, we'll give it to you. You want to know how many kids are passing in biology? We'll give it to you. We'll give you our data. And then everybody is expected to do those types of things systemically, coherently. I get it. It takes a long time to test. It already takes
a lot of effort and resources.
Sometimes I tell people it's already 3 weeks of school to do all of the beginning, middle, and end of the year testing, and then to do the SBAC testing. You're already making us, we're already testing a lot.
Right.
How about we not do so much testing?
Right.
That would be more my preference. But if you do make us test, then make us all test. And if we do a work sample, then make us do a work sample.
Right.
But I like consistency, because consistency to me is very clear, and it's also accountability.
I don't like the option.
Well, and it gives you good data.
Yeah.
I mean, you really only see good data over the same consistent data over a period of time. You can't compare data to something you don't have.
But I'll make it really clear one more time. I would prefer district level stuff gets submitted to the state, and then we're giving you our information, and you're putting it wherever you need to put it so that you're showing growth or lack thereof.
I like that better too.
So, but to put an exclamation mark on that, the lack of testing has not changed the quality of kids that LeGrand is producing.
No, we still have great kids. Like, we have kids that graduate and do great things. We have kids that go to armed forces. We have kids that go to the workforce and do well. We have kids that go to 2-year colleges, 4-year colleges, Ivy League schools.
Right.
We have kids that go to Stanford. We have kids that go to Oregon.
But you don't. There's not some slacker kid out there who's like, oh great, I don't have to take the test, and so the barrier to graduate is still.
You got 97% completer rates. 95%.
Yeah, you still have to have the number of credits. You still have to have the grades. You still. Yeah.
You're probably one of the best ways to know if a school system is doing fairly well is how many kids are graduating.
Yeah,
that means
95%.
That means at a school district that has almost 170, 180 kids per grade level.
Yeah.
If you're getting that high of a completion rate, that does mean that we care deeply, which I think is number one, that we know them, which I think is very important, and that we're watching and monitoring and observing their growth, and that we're making sure that they're taking the classes or the courses necessary for them to have the knowledge and skills to be able to graduate.
Right. And just a few years ago, we did have a dip in that graduation rate at the end of COVID. And
during that time, not being able to connect or not being able to.
So this is a vast improvement.
Yeah.
In a very short period of time.
It became, for me, a big priority. To me, superintendents are keepers of systems or keepers of structures, and whenever you see a system failing,
Right.
you need to apply resource and strategy to improve it. And that's where we started to do a better job of tracking and monitoring and having these conversations.
Yeah.
We're above the national average, too.
We're well above.
Well above it.
And for us to maintain 95, 97, just another thing is it's hard. Like once you get a certain level of excellence, to sustain it is pretty, you know, you can do it with a lot of
factors going.
resources and same types of systems, but to get it to be 100%, when again, like we don't control every relationship outside of school. We don't control the home life that happens outside of school. We don't control
Right.
the way people think and process, but we control us, and we're always going to try to make our systems very good systems where and I use again, we know the kid, we know the story, we know their situation and context, and we give them opportunities if they're below level at the beginning of the day, at the middle of the day, or at the end of the day for us to help them catch up.
Yeah, good. Well, George, our time always flies, and we're at the end. And so thank you so much.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for being
it's
here.
fine.
So again, one more time, the open house, Wildcat open house.
Please come. September 25th, 5 o'clock to 7.
All right.
Really
Wildcat
love for as
Center.
many people to come. It's a beautiful facility.
Can't miss it, right on the corner of 4th and whatever that street is.
I think it's
Albany?
N.
Oh, say, yeah. It's not Albany. Okay, yeah. All right. Thank you. You want to get us out of here?
Let's do it. On this day, September 17th, 1683, Dutch scientist Antoine van Leeuwenhoek is the first to report the existence of bacteria. 1787, on this day, the U.S. Constitution is signed by delegates at the Philadelphia Convention. 1849, on this day, Harriet Tubman first escaped slavery in Maryland with 2 of her brothers. 1934, RCA Victor releases the first 33 1/3 RPM recording, which was Beethoven's 5th Symphony, performed by the Philadelphia Orchestra at the Philadelphia Academy of Music. 1954, on this day, Lord of the Flies by William Golding is published by Faber and Faber in London. And then this is the day, on this day in 2019 was when the Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg tells U.S. Congress that, I know you're trying, but it's just not hard enough. Sorry. The #1 song in America on this day in 2004 is Pieces of Me by Ashley Simpson, the younger sister of Jessica Simpson. And the quote of the day comes from somebody that we lost this last week, a legend, James Earl Jones. One of the hardest things in life is having words in your heart that you can't utter. One more time. One of the hardest things in life is having words in your heart that you can't utter.
I like
Cool.
that quote.
Yeah.
That's a really good quote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some things are really hard to say.
Well, you know, I'll just say this. Corey Heath went to Eastern Oregon University. He passed away. I went to his funeral or his celebration of life 2 weeks ago, and I had a lot of words in my heart. And I didn't get up to say those things when I could have. Yeah. And there was a lot of regret for me to not be able to share the impact that he made on me, but the impact that he made in our time at EOU. And I wish I would have told that to all of his family and friends in Bullhead City when I went over there.
Dang.
So.
Yeah. Well, you made it right now. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us, George.
Yep.
Always a pleasure.
Yep.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you soon.